Hi, I'm Arshita Kadia, a psychologist. I know sometimes that statement gets, a lot of reaction, a lot of varied reaction out of people. Number one is usually, can you tell me what I'm thinking? Or you must know what I'm thinking, right? And let's be honest, no, I don't. But give me 20 minutes. And I might have a pretty good idea actually. No, it's not mind reading, it's understanding basic body language, emotions, a lot like what Sherlock does. But the real question is, why am I here? What made me make an IGTV video? Because let's be honest again, it's really weird talking to my own face. People have been asking me to make some content about very desi mental health issues and how to solve them. And I asked for suggestions. Boy, you guys responded. It took me a long while to decide on what I was going to go for, and not one idea seemed good enough because there were so many of them. And there it was, just like a light bulb going over my head and the ominous music of enlightenment glowing up. The perfectionist trap. I've not conducted research on this, and I am not sure if this is truly a societal thing. But most teens and young adults that approach me for counseling have this thing in their head where they know that they are not good enough or they just need to be perfect. This doesn't limit to our own expectations, from our own selves, even though it might be a major problem. But it extends to our expectations from others and the people around us, especially from our significant others, parents, and in cases of parents from their children. We want people in our lives to be perfect, our relationships to be perfect, perfectly Instagram worthy. The problem is, however, that no one is perfect. Life is a process of ups and downs, and you are going to face roller coasters in life. Noss, in his workbook for anxiety, highlights 6 common perfectionist traps. Number one is something that everybody is familiar with, the self perfectionism, which mostly sounds like I must not make mistakes. Everybody around me should approve of me. People should like me. These are the people who also get stuck to the log kya kahenge mindset. No matter how hard they try, they just not feel good enough. Then there's the social perfectionism. People who should listen to me. They should understand my perspective. They should take my advice. I love them. So they must understand what I'm saying is for their own benefit. And I'm giving the best advice here. They shouldn't have to suffer. That's why they should listen to me. Right now, you might be thinking that's how your parents function. And that's about right. Our parents try very hard to protect us from the harsh experiences of life, the kind of experiences they face. And in the process, accidentally, they either end up coddling us or pushing us away. But let's be honest, we do this to people around us too. Your frustration over the friend who keeps on going back to their toxic ex, or trying to get your friend out of a problematic relationship. The urge to say, I told you so, when that said toxic ex breaks their heart one too many times. How many times have you broken friendships or relationships because they just don't seem to listen to you? I mean, you might have argued about your favorite music, right? Then there is the learning perfectionism. And I call it the first venture crisis because personally, I struggled with this my whole life. And sometimes I still do. So when you have perfectionism, you become your worst own critic. And again, nothing is simply good enough. But this is the kind of which becomes the biggest roadblock and can lead to a lot of procrastination. Here, whenever you are learning something new or just trying out something, you must be great at it in the first go. And I cannot tell you the amount of times I've given up on something I really liked because I was not good at it. Then there's the fact that, we see people's end story and not their struggles. So we just want to be perfect in the first go. And that, creates a lot of roadblocks for us in our life. Then there is product perfectionism, when you have an ideal set for everything you do or make anything less than ideal is just plain problematic. This can lead not just to insurmountable amounts of anxiety, but a lot of frustration. The things you used to enjoy or love doing lose their joy. This can happen a lot when you try to shift your hobby into a full-time earning job because you're bound to get some criticism for your job. Let's be honest, in the society, we get criticism about everything you do. So you're bound to get it about what you are doing as a career. And then the feeling of not being good enough keeps on coming in. Fifth one is the plain and old Sharma ji ka beta or beti trap. Now, obviously, that's not how Nos decided to describe it. But hey, that's how it goes, right? When you start comparing yourself and your own accomplishments to others, you have fallen into the comparative trap. Again, something I struggled with a lot recently. I'd love to put the blame on the system. Parents constantly comparing us, even teachers loving to compare us with our own self, or with our own siblings, or the golden student of the class. But in the end, it's our choice to decide what we decide to affect us, right? We decide what's going to affect us. Lastly, we have the performance perfectionism. And this is something you might also know as performance anxiety. Here, everything you do must be perfect, much like this video I tried to make. And yeah, which take is it? Frankly, I thought that I was going to take really, like 19-20 days. But this is the fifth one, and I'm just going with it now. This leads you to worry more and even give up halfway or freeze because it's not your definition of perfect. Some signs of being in the perfectionist trap include constantly telling yourself you need to be perfect, a lot of procrastination over certain mistakes, constant shame and guilt because you didn't perform your level best according to you. Focus on your mistakes, flaws, and shortcomings rather than what went right. Expecting people around you to be perfect. Afraid of disappointing people around you. And lastly, if you are a part of this trap, you'd look up and say, but this just helps us improve. It's my motivating factor. This gives me the push I need to do something. But perfectionism is built on fear and inflexible rules and unreasonable standards. You have actually left the realm of reality. To be perfectionist means being overly concerned with personal achievement. Everything needs to be done perfectly, otherwise, you simply can't move forward. This naturally stems from the fact that perfectionist indulges in a notion of all or nothing thinking. Either you do your best or you do nothing at all, where things are either perfect or they are just not good enough. As such, the life stagnates and they are unable to move forward as quickly as needed because the simple fact that they created in their mind is set of unreasonable expectations. And let me tell you about a big hoax. No one knows what perfectionism truly is. It is a constant flux, it keeps on changing, and it is based on interpretation. What's perfect for me is not perfect for you. And most importantly, what's perfect today is not going to be perfect tomorrow. So, what should you do? You know, what should you strive for if not perfectionism? Because at the end of the day, it's definitely a motivating factor. You should strive for high self worth, self esteem, self confidence. This ensures that you're not working to, reach an ideal. You're working hard because you want growth and development. You need to shift your mindset from fear, I must do this to impress someone, I must do this right, or I won't be able to succeed. I need to, do this because if I don't, nobody is going to love me. To a mindset that says, I need to do this to improve myself, but it's okay if I make a mistake because it will be a lesson learned. To beat the perfectionist trap, you need to shift your mindset. And how do you do that? Number one thing is being aware of that you're doing this. You're stopping yourself. You have fallen into the perfectionist trap. The second thing is to take charge of the critic within you. When I write, I tell my inner critic to go on a holiday. That's what you need to do on most occasions because, uh, when you're learning, performing, or dealing with people, you need to understand that there will be mistakes, and sometimes it's from extraneous variables that you cannot control. So it's okay not to be okay. In the same vein, you need to talk positively to yourself. Don't say the things to yourself which you'd consider impolite in a public setting. Imagine going to someone, just, walking up to someone and saying that, you are a terrible person. You cannot do one single thing correctly, and I've been trying to tell you so many times that this is how it should be done, but you're not doing it. Now, will this be considered polite? Yet, this is what you do to yourself every single day. And then you need to set realistic goals and values. Celebrate your successes and reward yourself for it. Take a cost benefit analysis. How is this behavior helping me? How is this behavior hurting me? How is this behavior potentially hurting other people? And sometimes we harm others because of our perfectionistic tendencies. What are the short term consequences, and also what are the long term consequences of your behavior? Lastly, you also need to shift your perspective. Ask yourself, does it help me to think this way? What is a better way of approaching this problem? How else could I view this situation? What's the worst that could happen? And now, I'm not trying to induce your anxiety by asking you this. But just consider this. If I don't do this perfectly, will it really matter in the long run? And it's basically that. It's not a life or death matter unless you are a surgeon performing a surgery, uh, or someone trying to save others. Just a side note. But most of the times, your perfectionistic tendencies are not life and death matters. So, like, if you don't get that assignment correct, what's the worst that can happen? Seriously, consider this. What's the worst that can happen? Apart from a backlog, there is really nothing that could, drive you to uh, the kind of behavior you are getting into. Lastly, shift your focus on things that matter. And what does really matter at the end of the day in the long run? What matters is your own behavior and how you talk to yourself and what you can do to make things better. The problem with perfectionist trap is that it traps you in what could be or what could have been and what is and what should be perfect, rather than you taking action and doing things. And in this way, I have completed this video with a lot of mistakes, a bit of stuttering, and a bit of eye rolls. But as we have decided that we wouldn't fall into the perfectionistic trap, we are going to post this anyways. After Ahmed does some editing on this. Ahmed, please handle this. Goodbye, have a great day ahead, and comment below all of your questions, problems, and suggestions for upcoming videos if you want more videos. Bye.